This is the story of a French billionaire who insulted the president of Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traoré. What happened next is something you will never forget. Jean-Luc Moreau was a man who loved money more than anything. He was born in France, but he made his fortune in Africa. He owned gold mines, oil fields, and big companies. He always wore shiny suits and gold watches. He thought he was the most important man in every room. He believed that money could buy anything, even respect. He liked to tell people what to do, and he expected everyone to listen. But in Burkina Faso, things were changing. The people were tired of being poor while their land was full of gold. They wanted a leader who would fight for them. That leader was Ibrahim Traoré. He was young, but he was brave. He listened to the people and promised to protect their gold. He wanted to make sure the people of Burkina Faso had a better life. One day, Jean-Luc heard about this new president. He laughed and said, "He is just a boy. He will learn who is really in charge." Jean-Luc decided to fly to Burkina Faso. He wanted to show everyone that he was the real boss. He thought he could make a deal with the president and get even more gold. When Jean-Luc arrived in Ouagadougou, he expected a big welcome, but the people just watched him. No one smiled. No one clapped. Jean-Luc did not care. He was used to getting what he wanted. He went straight to the presidential palace, ready to talk business. President Traoré was waiting for him. He stood tall and calm. He wore a simple suit. He looked Jean-Luc in the eye and said, "Welcome to Burkina Faso." Jean-Luc smiled and said, "Mr. President, I have come to help your country. I want to invest more, build more, and make you rich. All I ask is that you let me do business my way." President Traoré listened and replied, "We welcome friends, but not masters. Our gold is for our people first. If you want to help, you must respect our rules." Jean-Luc's smile disappeared. He leaned forward and said, "Young man, you are new to this game. You need people like me. If you refuse, you will regret it. I can make or break your country." The room went silent. President Traoré did not blink. He said, "In Africa, we say, the river does not fear the stone in its path. You may be rich, but you do not own us." Jean-Luc was angry. He stood up and said, "You will regret this. I will make sure of it." He left the palace, slamming the door. He called his friends in Europe and America. Stop sending money. Block trade. Make life hard for Burkina Faso. News spread fast. Prices went up. Jobs were lost. And people began to worry. Some whispered that maybe the president had made a mistake. But President Traoré did not give up. He went on the radio and spoke to his people. He said, "We are facing hard times, but we are not alone. We have each other. We have our land, our hands, and our hearts. No one can take that from us." The people listened. They remembered the stories of their ancestors, who had fought for freedom and never gave up. They decided to stand with their president. Jean-Luc was not finished. He called a secret meeting with his top advisors. "We need to put more pressure on this president," he said. "Find his weak spot." His advisors suggested many things. One said, "Let's use the media. We can spread stories that make him look bad." Another said, "Let's talk to the banks. If we freeze their accounts, the country will panic." Jean-Luc nodded. "Do it all. I want him begging for my help." Soon, newspapers in Europe and America started printing stories about Burkina Faso. They said the president was too young, too stubborn, and did not know how to run a country. They said the people were suffering because of him. On social media, fake accounts spread lies and rumors. Some people in Burkina Faso started to worry. They asked, "Is our president really making things worse?" But President Traoré stayed calm. He called a meeting with his ministers. "We must tell the truth," he said. "We must show the world who we are." The government started sharing real stories. They showed farmers working together, children learning in new schools, and doctors helping in clinics. They invited journalists from Africa to see the truth for themselves. Jean-Luc tried to freeze the country's bank accounts, but President Traoré had already started working with new partners. He made deals with other African countries. He traded gold for food, medicine, and fuel. He asked for help from neighbors, not from the West. Soon, trucks from Ghana and Mali arrived with supplies. The people saw that their president was not alone. They felt hope. Jean-Luc grew more desperate. He sent a team to meet with some of the president's old friends. "Offer them money," he said. "If they turn against him, the people will lose faith." But the friends refused. One of them, a teacher named Salif, said, "Ibrahim is not perfect, but he is honest. He loves this country. We will not betray him for your gold." Jean-Luc was shocked. He was not used to hearing no. Meanwhile, President Traoré traveled to the north of the country, where people had suffered from attacks and hunger. He sat with the elders under a big tree. He listened to their problems. He promised to send more help. He asked them to stay strong. The elders thanked him. One said, "You are the first president to come here in many years. We will stand with you." The news spread quickly. People in other villages heard about the visit. They felt proud. They started to believe that things could change. Back in the city, young people organized a big march. They carried signs that said, "Our gold, our future, and we trust our president." The march was peaceful, but loud. The world saw the pictures. They saw that the people were not afraid. They saw that the president was not alone. Jean-Luc watched all of this from his office in Paris. He was angry. He called his lawyers. "Find a way to take back my gold mines," he said. But the courts in Burkina Faso ruled against him. They said the mines belonged to the people. Jean-Luc tried to appeal, but he lost again. He called the French government for help, but they said, "We cannot interfere. This is not our fight." Jean-Luc's company started losing money. Investors pulled out. His name was in the news, but not in a good way. People in France started asking questions. "Why are you fighting a small country?" they asked. "Why are you hurting poor people?" Jean-Luc tried to explain, but no one wanted to listen. President Traoré kept working. He met with business leaders from other African countries. He invited them to invest in Burkina Faso, but with fair rules. He said, "We want partners, not bosses. If you help us, we will help you." Some agreed. They started new projects, building roads, schools, and hospitals. The people saw real change. They felt proud. One day, a group of women from a small village came to the capital. They brought gifts, baskets of fruit, handmade cloth, and a letter. The letter said, "Thank you, President Traoré, for giving us hope. For the first time, our children can dream of a better life." The president read the letter on the radio. People across the country cheered. Jean-Luc tried one last trick. He hired a group of men to cause trouble in the city. They started fires and broke windows. They shouted, "Down with the president," but the people did not join them. Instead, they formed groups to protect their neighborhoods. They called the police. The troublemakers were arrested. The people said, "We will not let anyone destroy our country." After this, Jean-Luc knew he had lost. He sold his last company in Burkina Faso. He left Africa, angry and bitter. But the people did not care. They were too busy building their future. President Traoré did not stop. He started a new program to teach young people about business and farming. He said, "We must learn to help ourselves. We cannot wait for others to save us." The program was a success. Young people started new farms, shops, and factories. They created jobs. They helped their families. The country grew stronger. Other African leaders noticed. They called President Traoré for advice. They asked, "How did you do it?" He said, "Trust your people. Stand up for what is right. Do not be afraid." Some leaders listened. They started to make changes in their own countries. Years passed. Burkina Faso became known as the land of the brave. People from other countries came to learn from them. They saw new schools, clean hospitals, and busy markets. They saw a country that had faced a storm and survived. Jean-Luc, now old and tired, watched from far away. He remembered the day he insulted the young president. He remembered how he thought he could buy anything. But he learned that respect cannot be bought. He learned that the heart of a people is stronger than gold. But the story does not end here. After Jean-Luc's defeat, other billionaires and foreign companies watched closely. Some thought about leaving Burkina Faso, but others wanted to try their luck. One day, a group of businessmen from another country came to see President Traoré. They offered him gifts and promises. "We can make your country rich. Just give us your gold, and we will build roads and schools." President Traoré listened and said, "We want friends, not masters. If you want to work with us, you must respect our people and our land." The businessmen looked at each other. They realized that this president was different. He could not be bought. They left, and the people cheered. The people of Burkina Faso worked harder than ever. They grew more food, built new schools, and started new businesses. They learned new skills and taught their children to be proud of their country. The world began to notice. Other African countries sent messages of support. "You have shown us that we can stand up for ourselves. You have given us hope." President Traoré replied, "We are strong when we stand together. No one can take away our pride." Jean-Luc, back in France, watched all of this with a heavy heart. He realized that he had lost more than money. He had lost the respect of a whole nation. He tried to fix his image, but it was too late. People remembered how he had tried to bully a small country and failed. He became a lesson for others. Never underestimate the power of a united people. Years passed, and Burkina Faso continued to grow. The children who had once gone hungry now had enough to eat. The young people who had once dreamed of leaving now wanted to stay and build their country. The old people who had once feared the future now smiled with hope. President Traoré became a hero, not just in his own country, but across Africa. His story was told in schools, in songs, and in the hearts of the people. And so, the story of the French billionaire and the president of Burkina Faso became a legend. It was a story of courage, unity, and the power of standing up for what is right. It was a story that showed the world that respect cannot be bought, and that the true wealth of a nation is its people. If you ever feel small or powerless, remember this story. Remember that even the smallest voice can make a big difference. And remember that in the end, it is not money or power that wins, but courage, respect, and the love of the people. Thank you for listening to this story. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to this channel for more amazing stories from Africa and around the world. Your support helps us share more stories that inspire and teach. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video with your friends. See you in the next story.